I'm here to express my disapproval of the drag events, and I'm within my charter rights to do so. So I don't understand why this constitutes criminal harassment.
At what point does civil discourse become criminal harassment? And what punishment do those who toe the line deserve? Syd Fizzard for Rebel News, standing outside the Calgary Court Centre for the sentencing of Pastor Derek Reimer. Previously, Pastor Reimer made international headlines for protesting Drag Time Story Hour, in which adults dressed in drag read stories, often including sexual undertones, to children. Consequently, he was arrested on multiple occasions, faced multiple charges, and served time behind bars prior to a conviction.
You can go and contact Rebel. They're providing me with a lawyer. This is what happens when we go against a drag.
Most of the charges were ultimately dropped. However, in what many describe as overreach, Reimer was convicted of criminal harassment and breaching bail conditions. This stems from a conversation he had with the Saddletown Public Library manager in early 2024. This video I'll show you now is the basis for that harassment charge.
Hi.
Hey, how are you? Hi, I'm Derek Reimer.
Oh, hi, Derek.
Nice to meet you. I'm just inquiring about Reading with Royalty. There's
Sure.
events going on here.
Not today. There's an event going on next week. It's a registered program.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's your full name, Shannon Slater?
It is.
Okay, how long have you been working here?
You know, I'm happy to talk to you about anything that you want to help you, but I'm not prepared to share that with you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Do you think it's appropriate to have, pervert grooming sessions going on here,
You know
corrupting
what?
children?
I find that really offensive. We offer programs for children. We focus on age-appropriate programs,
Right.
and I'm not going to have a conversation.
You know what I
where you're
find
going to say
offensive?
that.
Corrupting kids.
Yeah,
That's
you
what
know
I find
what?
offensive.
This conversation is over.
And we're going to make this public, and your name's going to be out there, and that's not going to be good for this
you are
library.
welcome to threaten me.
It's
That
not
is
a
your-
threat, but we
that
want
is
to
your
hold you
option,
accountable,
but I'm
people
going
that are
to end
hosting
this
these pervert
conversation,
grooming
and I'm
hours.
going to ask you to leave.
I'll leave, that's fine.
Yep. Can
But
leave?
you need to be held accountable for the choices that you're making, and that's not okay. All right, so that offends me, just like you said you're offended, that's okay. But we're offended by the corruption of kids.
I understand that, and that is your choice.
Yeah,
But I'm going to ask you to leave.
yeah, that's fine. But we'll be back, is what I'm communicating, if you continue to have these events. And I don't think you want that kind of attention. I don't think that's good attention, right? For you personally, like with your name and this library, I don't think you want that all over the place. I'm just saying that it will be. Okay, okay, God bless.
Yeah, that's all he did. And for this, the Crown is seeking to have Reimer spend years behind bars, away from his newborn child and unable to perform his pastoral services to those in Calgary, seeking religious solace or even a warm meal, as provided by Mission 7 Ministries, who looks after the homeless. It's worth noting that was something Reimer was charged for during the COVID-19 pandemic, while politicians were cracking down on civil liberties. Today's sentencing to determine what punishment Pastor Reimer should be burdened with begins. To fill us in on the details, we spoke with Pastor Reimer and his lawyer, Andrew McKenzie, to get their reaction to today's proceedings. To support Pastor Derek's legal battle, go to savepastorderek.com.
Derek served functionally 2 months in jail at this point. That's more than enough. We're looking for him to finish this with the time served credited, with no additional conditions restricting his liberty.
I have a good feel about today. When the Crown was pushing for a 12-month sentence and 3 years probation, the judge brought up herself a conditional sentence on her own. So already that was a good sign. I feel good, especially with the ending, that I had the opportunity to speak my mind, my heart, my passion, my conviction, my Jesus. And I think that really spoke to the judge. So, hey, we'll see what happens if we get time served, if we get a conditional sentence, or if I go to jail. But I don't think the judge wants to send me to jail. I don't think she wants to crush my family and crush my ministry, as I worded it in court, saying that that's what the Crown wants to do. And after we presented a person, as I speak of myself in the third person, someone who's helping the community and benefiting the community now, why do you want to crush that? So it really made, I think, the Crown look like a monster in there. And I think the Crown had hurt his case because he was pushing for that year incarceration. And I think the judge isn't for that. I'm hoping for time served. I think, like I said, after that speech, I think it affected the judge, and I think it's possible, but we'll see. We'll keep praying.
When Canadians are watching this and they're watching the sentencing and the guilty verdict, what are they supposed to take away from it when it comes to where the line is when it comes to peacefully protesting?
I think it's hard to tell where the line is, but one element of it was that the Crown and the judge both focused on it was made personal in a way that didn't need to be. If this is about the issue, you don't single out the individual librarian for being at the start of it. And that's a tough one, right? Because this is a common tactic. If you read Sololinsky, if you read Rules for Radicals, freeze the target and polarize it, single it out and polarize it. That's an organizing tactic. That is a protest tactic. That's widely in use. And Derek's campaign has always been against the events. Derek's concern has been against the events. His goal has been in opposition to drag queen story hours and gender identity. That's his broader campaign. In this case, his conviction came from singling out an individual who was involved in that campaign. That's what was found across the line. I'll say there were other decisions that crossed the line, or that other actions that the judge found that Derek crossed the line with, that he was using his megaphone too close to an event, that kind of thing. And I have my thoughts on that. They're not entirely in agreement, but that's the crux of what was in court today.
My understanding it was the library manager whose decision it was to host these events. So I didn't know who this person was. It didn't matter if it's male, female, Shannon Slater, John Doe, whatever. Hey, I'm there, and I said this at the end of the court day here. I'm here to express my disapproval of the drag events, and I'm within my charter rights to do so. So I don't understand why this constitutes criminal harassment. It has nothing to do with Shannon Slater, but it has to do with these wicked, perverted drag events.
There was a quote of you in a video that we heard today where you said, if it's criminal harassment to upset someone, then we're all guilty.
If it's criminal harassment to upset someone, we're all guilty. The judge decided that even though she said upset, it was more than that. Derek intimidated her. Those weren't her words. How was she intimidated? Why was she intimidated? Well, a huge piece of evidence the judge relied on to find that she was intimidated was that she set her Facebook profile settings to friends only.
Could you elaborate on why you said that in this matter?
That's the words that the librarian used. The librarian, when asked what happened to her, with the impact, she said, I was upset, and she repeated it again. That was the first thing she said. That was her first response. I was upset. It wasn't that I was tormented or anything like that. She was upset, and she was a little bit scared. It sounds like she was a bit cautious that there'd be blowback. It sounds like, but at the end of the day, that's what she said. That's why I brought up the upset, because that's how she testified to the impact it had on her, and that can't be the standard. It can't, and that's not the standard. The judge found it to be more. The judge found it to be that she was particularly tormented. I think they went against the words of the librarian herself. One of the principles of sentencing, they talk about specific deterrence. They talk about trying to prevent this person from doing it again. My question for the court was today, what are they trying to prevent him from doing it? Are they trying to prevent him from harassing this librarian? Or are they trying to prevent him from protesting drag events? And I'm not sure what the answer is going to be when we get the decision, but stay tuned, I suppose, because I think as far as this pre-crime comment is concerned, it's pushing the boundaries to try and sentence someone for what you think they might do later. There's some room for it, but we don't want to get too carried away with it, especially when they've put him on conditions for close to 2 years now to try and stop him from doing any more protests.
There was a bit of a fuss over whether or not you would delete a Facebook post that was revolving around this matter. How do you feel about that kind of ask from the Crown?
I don't think that the onus is on me with that. If the court has such an issue with it, then make that a condition, make that a requirement. But they didn't, but yet they want to try to fault me that a post is just left up for the last year and a half.
And last word to you.
Just thanks everybody at Rebel News for donating, TDF for helping fund Andrew McKenzie and Ben Allison, yourself for covering these stories. I know you and I actually got a bit of history there with going on my prayer walk, watching me get arrested. But please keep supporting, keep praying, keep fighting, keep exposing, and keep pushing back against this perversion and this darkness. God bless.
Now that the judge has heard sentencing arguments from the Crown and the defense, a date for Pastor Reimer's sentencing will be determined in the weeks ahead. For Rebel News, Syd Fizzard. To support Pastor Derek's legal battle, go to SavePastorDerek.com and donate.